Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Greetings, Algo Artisans Cowboy here. We have had a big week so far. CPI came out. It's a little bit different this week for the report. I wanted to wait till CPI came out so we didn't get any major surprises. We still have PPI coming and a few other things. We're going to get into that, but first, go ahead into the description, click the link to get your free algo, and we'll put you on a list where we can tell you how to find us. We'll give you a free algo, weekly updates, and then you can go ahead and join us if you wish. Now let's get into the data this week. We're going to take a look at the charts for the NASDAQ, USDJPY, BTC, USD, that's Bitcoin, EURUSD, AUDUSD, GBPJPY, and gold. Before we look at the charts, we're going to take a look at the economic data dropping this week. Now we already saw the PPI come out this morning, and it was relatively lukewarm, almost a nothing burger. A little bit of mixed data. Now we do have PPI tomorrow. That's the producer price index, and if that is way off, that could move markets pretty hard as well. We do have the CPI for Great British Pound. That's going to happen at the European Open, which is 2 a.m. EST. Then we have employment data for the Australian economy at 9:30 p.m. EST on Wednesday. Thursday, 8:30 a.m. EST. Typical data coming out, retail sales and unemployment claims for the U.S. That's 8:30 a.m. EST, and that's all for the data this week. Let's jump into the charts, and we will start with the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is bullish on the high time frame. We saw an all-time high today after the data came out. Even though the data was kind of lukewarm, a lot of money came back into the market. Now again, the PPI could surprise us, and so each of these charts you'll see has this dotted line right there, and we might get a harder move down than expected. We could even get a little bit of a move up, but I expect the NASDAQ to go sideways and continue to climb up. It's earnings season this week, so we could get some surprises, but until then I expect sideways, recovery from this fake out breakout, and then up after that. And the all-time high is currently at 23,226, and I don't expect price to go below 22,805. Let's take a look at USDJPY. This pair is very bullish. I scraped out a lot of profit from it today. It may need to take a bit of a break, but it might just go sideways and up. So if it takes a break, it might go ahead and head back down towards 148, almost on the dot. Now, if it doesn't do that, it might stay above this 148.67 and then just kind of grind and climb up throughout the next week. And of course, you could get a surprise and go higher than what I've drawn here, but the highest I think it would go next few days would be 150.51 in terms of the Japanese yen. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin resilient, of course, it had the big move up. It did reject off a new all-time high yesterday at 123.26, and there was a divergence in the chart that I didn't notice. I did expect price to come back down, but this is something that you can learn from. There are different kinds of divergences, but you see this histogram divergence where you have this high peak right here and this much lower peak that's at least half this high peak's size. That is a notable divergence in the MACD histogram when that is combined with a higher price at the same time, right? So these are the exact same two areas, the beginnings of these peaks. If you put them on the map, if I open up this MACD, you'll notice this line is right at this peak, that line is right at this peak. You have a higher peak than a lower peak corresponding to the price chart. You notice that this was a lower peak and then a higher peak. So high low on the indicator, low high on price, and then price really rolled over. Those are very valuable. Histogram divergences in particular are very predictable. Nothing is 100%, but I would have shorted a lot more confidently had I seen that. Now, what do I think will happen? Well, if Bitcoin can hold above basically 116,000, it'll probably go sideways and head up after that. Bitcoin is very bullish, but it also is very tired on the daily chart. So we could see price go sideways and head down. And of course, I do have a contingency for if the PPI is a bit of a surprise. So we could see price do anything at that time, but I do expect sideways. I would bet on up if I had to bet. I think it would stay above 116 and head up, but it always could get a little more liquidity down at 112. We'll see what happens. Let's go to EURUSD. EURUSD is very bearish. It does want to go sideways and down. That's what I expect. And it could head down all the way to 114.50 or so. That might be where we see price go, but there's a little bit more resilience in this than in some other pairs. So I think even though it's rolling over, I think it might catch anywhere between 114.50 and about 115.80 and just go sideways. But after that, I think it will continue down. We just might not be able to see it this week. And of course, course, PPI could cause anything to happen. So at this first line, if PPI is way out of line, then any prediction on these charts is sort of out the window, at least temporarily. Let's take a look at AUDUSD. Same thing as the pound, but more bearish. This pair was bullish for so long, and even though high time frame it could flip bullish again right now, I think it's just going to go sideways and down, and in kind of a messy way as I drew here. So a couple of supports to break. It's got to break below 65.06 in terms of the dollar, and I think it'll have a little bit harder over time going below 64.83. But then I think it'll just kind of head on down, and then it may have a healthy bounce at $63.73. Let's take a look at GBPJPY, otherwise known as the Beast. Now the pound yen is bullish, a lot like the dollar yen, but the dollar does seem to be a bit more bullish right now than the British pound. So this is going to also want to head up and to the right. However, I think it might have a hard time breaking above this local resistance at 199.83 yen, right? It might have to do some work. It could even, and I'll add a little bit of drawing here, it could have to get a little liquidity before it heads up. So we'll see what happens on that, but I think up and to the right is the way, and it's just going to have to break through some resistances. And if it does, I can look at targets based on some of the fib extensions and things like that. But until that happens, that's pretty high time frame. I'm not worried about it. I don't trade that high time frame. I'll assess it as it happens. Let's take a look at gold. I don't expect a lot out of gold. It's been pretty sideways. It's been range locked more or less between 33.65 and about 32.80. I expect it overall to head down. It could run up and grab some liquidity as high as 33.43 before it heads down. And it could do that at any time. Gold has been surprising us from time to time, going against what the algos are saying, and that's expectable in this current environment of international instability. And also there is a gold supply shortage. Banks are buying the daylights out of gold. So we could see a surprise move up, but I expect gold to head down to, say, 32.80-ish area. I don't know that it'll make it down there by the end of the week, but I expect it to head down towards that and eventually get there probably next week. Go ahead to link in the description, get your free algo, click the link, give us a real name, fake name, we don't care, put in your email, and what we'll do is we'll give you some information, links to free things. We'll put you on notice for when we have the webinar that I keep talking about. It really probably needs to happen in the next week or two. I will decide on that shortly. I'll put out an email as to when that's going to happen. Pay attention to that. And every week on Monday, with the exception of this week, I have put out the weekly market forecast. Now the CPI is out. We're doing this one today. What do we do at Algo Factory? We help you to learn how to build your own trading plan. Now I could give you my best algo. Chances are you will lose money. Why is that? Because you don't have your psychology right. And the big secret in trading that not a lot of people talk about is that if you build your own method, your psychology has a much better chance of being right. Trading is a three-legged table. You have the actual trading, which is your algo, right? You have your method, and then you have the business operations. You need to learn how to conserve your capital, manage those types of things. That's business operations. And then you have trading psychology. Now, trading psychology is just as important as the other two legs. And if you have a three-legged table and any of those legs goes bad, the table does not stand. So come on over to Algo Factory, check us out. We will show you how to create that algo. We will put the power in your hands to extract money out of the market on a regular basis. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. EST sharp. That's on Wednesday. In fact, I'll probably do like I did today and start 10 minutes early so we can see what happens with the PPI drop. Thanks again for watching.